Hare Krishna. In progress.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Maharaj.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're back again studying Bhakti-Shastri, and we're Oh Krishna. Let me open the screen sharing. Okay. So we were on the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and we're studying at the level of Bhakti-Shastri. We tried to cover these verses last night. Significant philosophical points relevant for preaching Krishna consciousness in 15.7 and 15.15. Significant philosophical points. Mami Vamsa Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So one very important philosophical point, we're all eternal parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. Manishastani Indriyani Prakriti Stani Karshati. We're struggling very hard with the six senses and the mind. So we don't have any difficulty in presenting that. I think everybody's well aware we're struggling very hard with our senses and our mind, trying to control the senses and trying to control the mind. So 15.15, Krishna says, I am in the hearts of all living entities, and from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So it's a very important verse. Of course, we often quote this verse because it describes how the Super Soul is functioning. Krishna is giving us knowledge. Sometimes we want to remember something. Krishna tells us about it. He reminds us what we're supposed to be doing and what our standards should be. And then Krishna also allows us to forget. When we really want to forget, Krishna says, all right, go ahead, forget. And then, just like, you're in a drama, you're acting, you forget who you are. You're so much absorbed in the part you're playing in the drama that you forget your real identity. And so that's how it is in the material world. We forget that we're spirit souls, and we become enamored with our material bodies. And we think, I'm a young person, I'm a young woman, I'm someone's wife, or I'm someone's husband, I'm a doctor, or I'm a teacher, I'm a nurse, whatever. We identify with the material body, and we forget our actual spiritual identity. But Krishna also helps us remember. When we want to really remember something, Krishna helps us about that. And then the second half of the verse, by all the Vedas I am to be known, and I am the author, and I am the compiler of the Vedas. So we'll be speaking about that in a minute. And then the other verse, 14.3.4, significant points in relation to this verse. A list of social, moral, environmental, and scientific issues this verse addresses. Who remembers this verse, 14.3.4? Many of you spoke about it. Several of you spoke about it.
Yes, Maharaj. That Krishna is the seed-giving father and this material nature is the mother, the place where the birth happens.
Okay. And so Krishna is saying he's the seed-giving father. So social, moral, environmental, that if we have that consciousness, everything is in relation to Krishna, then certainly the environment, the conditions of the environment can be so much improved. We'll be more respectful to the environment. We'll be more respectful to the other forms of life. Social, we will respect people of different races and different origins and different beliefs. Moral, we'll practice religious principles. We will respect Lord Krishna as the Father and we want to follow his teachings. Like that. These kind of things we want. You can constantly think about different verses in the Bhagavad Gita and think how to apply them. Okay, we'll go ahead. Here you can see 15:15 again. And there's Srila Vyasadeva. Right? Srila Vyasadeva. He wrote the Puranas, he had the Vedas written down. Vedas are eternal knowledge, but he compiled the Vedanta Sutra. Because the Vedas are so vast, Srila Vyasadeva presented the Vedanta Sutra, the Vedas in a condensed form. Right? The end of knowledge in a sutra, in a very condensed form. And of course the Mayavadis, they spend a long time speculating on what is the real teaching behind the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra is actually Nyaya, is logic. So the Lord in his incarnation as Vyasadeva compiled the Vedanta Sutra. Here the Lord is giving, in summary, the contents of the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Krit, Vedavid, Eva Chaham. Krishna is saying, I am the author. In other words, the Vedas are coming from Krishna. It's Krishna who presented it. Tenhe Brahma Hridaya Dikabaye. Krishna put the Vedic knowledge into the heart of Brahma, the beginning of the creation. And then that knowledge came from Brahma, it comes to Narada, and Narada is the guru of Vyasa. So Vyasa got the Vedic knowledge coming through Parampara, and based on that Parampara teachings, he compiled books like Vedanta Sutra. He also compiled Mahabharata, he also compiled Puranas, and then in his mature realization, he compiled Srimad Bhagavatam, or Bhagavat Purana. Right? So this is Srila Vyasadeva's contribution. And then we come to the Trisloki Gita. The Trisloki Gita. 3 verses, 16, 17 and 18. They're described as the Trisloki Gita because they're presenting the essence of the Vedas in 3 verses. Here's 16. There are 2 classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible. Right? So this is the first of the three Sloki Gita. And then here's the second. Besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them. And then 18, the third verse. Because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that Supreme Person. Alright, so Lord Krishna is speaking like that. He's explaining, He is the Supreme Person. And then text 19, Lord Krishna continues, whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. So this chapter is called Purushottam Yoga. It's the yoga of the Supreme Person. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Person. He is Purushottama. And one who knows Krishna, then he knows everything. From Prabhupada's purport, one should submissively hear from Bhagavad Gita that these living entities are always subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who is able to understand this, according to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, knows the purpose of the Vedas. Right? So what do you need to know the Vedas? What do you have to know?
We need to know Krishna.
Yeah, you have to understand what? Understand Krishna is the Supreme
Personality of Godhead. Yeah.
And that the living entities are?
His part and parcel, or subordinate to Krishna.
Yes, His servants, subordinate to Him. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharat. Bhajati mam sarva bhavana Bharat. In this chapter, the first 5 verses describe the process of freeing oneself from these weaknesses of heart, right? What were the first 5 verses about? What were we talking about, the beginning of the chapter?
Banyan tree?
Yes, the banyan tree, right? And what does the banyan tree represent?
That
Reflection of
our
the spiritual.
Yes, what does it represent? Don't all speak at once. One person can speak. Yes, what are you saying?
Reflection of the spiritual content.
Well, yeah, we can say it's a reflection of the spiritual world, but it's actually representing the fruitive activities of the living entity in the material world. So here it's described that this tree represents the material world, how we're entangled in so many activities trying to enjoy the material world. And the first 5 verses describe how we can get out of that tree, freeing ourselves from these weaknesses of heart. The weaknesses of heart are the attachment to sense gratification that we have. We want to enjoy the material world. And then the other verses in the chapter, they're describing Purushottam Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Person. Just like, what were the sections in the chapter? Do you remember? Go back. Here we are. And first of all, we have the banyan tree. Then, transmigration. We spoke about how we get another body. We have to give up one body. We don't want to be taking another body in the material world. We want to get out of the material world. We want to liberate ourselves. But we've been coming back many times. So Lord Krishna speaks about transmigration. Then verses 12 to 15, we hear about Krishna as a maintainer. Now we never really spoke about that. Who can tell me, how does Krishna maintain this material world? What are some of the ways in which Lord Krishna is maintaining this material world? Are you aware? Krishna is the maintainer. How does he do it?
Maharaj, we can see like sunshine from the sun, the moonlight, the digestion fire in our body.
How does that maintain us?
Sorry?
How does the sunlight maintain us?
It illuminates us. Without sun, there will be all darkness and we won't be able to see the things. So the sun illuminates the world, and so that we can able to see it. And if we see from the moon, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that he is that moonlight so that he can give the rasa to the fruits or the vegetables.
The juice, the taste in the vegetables, yes.
And if we don't have that, the digestion fire, so we won't be able to digest our food, which will be difficult for us being in this body. So this also we can say that he is maintaining us.
Yeah, good. The fire of digestion, yeah, the fire in the body. It's important to have some fire in the body. Young people, you know, in the cold weather, you have more fire in the body to digest. When the weather's hot, then you can't eat so much. But in the cold weather, you have a better appetite and you can eat more. Because there's more fire in the body to digest. So the fire of digestion, very important. Okay, anything else? Anyone thinks of anything else? Krishna is maintaining us?
Maharaj, I also want to add one point which you have just mentioned today. Like he gives us remembrance, he gives us forgetfulness. So if we won't be able to forget things, so we will always remain in our past bad experiences. So this is how he maintaining us, that we forget something which is very unpleasant or which is not good for us. So in that way we can say that he's maintaining us.
Okay. As a super soul within the heart.
Yes.
And also he's maintaining us as Srila Vyasadeva. Srila Vyasadeva wrote the scriptures. He wrote scriptures like the Vedanta Sutra and the Mahabharata and the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is also important. We need that. We need the scriptures to maintain ourselves. Very difficult to be Krishna conscious without having these scriptures. They're so important for us. They give us so much life when we read the scriptures. Bhakti-Vinod Thakur went to Vrindavan and he was looking through one man's library. And when he was looking through his library, he found a copy of Rupa Goswami's Upadesh Amrita. Oh, he was so joyful. He said, oh, this is wonderful. He said, this will bring life to the devotees. The devotees will get inspired by hearing this wonderful book from Rupa Goswami. So he had it copied. And then he also wrote a commentary on the book. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati also wrote a commentary. And then Srila Prabhupada wrote a commentary. And Srila Prabhupada had us printed and distributed around the world for everyone. So like that, we need the scriptures. It also maintains our spiritual life. Alright? So summary of the Vedanta Sutra, we spoke about the Trisloki Gita. Trisloki Gita. Alright. Any questions, anyone? Everything clear about this chapter? Anyone? No? Remember everything about the...
Yes. Can you please repeat the Trisloki Gita? I didn't understand that much.
The Trisloki Gita?
Yes, Maharaj.
Well, we said there were 3 verses, 16, 17 and 18. They're the Trisloki Gita. It's the essence of the Vedas described in 3 verses. Right? So, the first verse, verse number 16, describes 2 classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible, or Shara and Akshara. Right? The fallible and the infallible. In other words, the infallible are the liberated souls, and the fallible are the conditioned souls. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, right? We're all conditioned. And in the spiritual world, every living entity is infallible, right? They're liberated souls, they're infallible. So that's the first verse. And then the second verse describes, besides these 2, describing the first verse was about the jivas, the living entities. And then, beside these 2, there's the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the 3 worlds and is maintaining them. So the first, verse number 16 was about the living entities, describing there are 2 kinds of living entities. Now verse 17 is about the Supreme Lord, or the Supreme Soul. And he's described here that he is maintaining them. He has entered the 3 worlds. 3 worlds means heaven, hell and earth. 3 worlds. And then the third verse is about, again, it's about Lord Krishna, the Supreme Lord, and His transcendental position. He's beyond both the fallible and the infallible. And He says, I am the greatest. I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that Supreme Person. So this is the position of the Supreme Lord. So these 3 verses summarize that they're in essence of the Bhagavad Gita. So it's called the Trisloki Gita. Or it's the essence of the Vedas, essence of Vedic knowledge. Because you've got the living entities described, 2 kinds of living entities, and then you've got the position of the Supreme Lord over everyone. Is it clear?
Yes, thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Maharaj, I have a question from text 16, from the purport of text 16. May I?
Yeah.
Maharaj, in that purport, Prabhupada has mentioned that they are like oneness does not mean that they have no individuality, but that there is no disunity. They are all agreeable to the purpose of the creation. Of course, in the spiritual world, there is no such thing as creation. But since the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra, is the source of all emanations, that conception is explained. So I'm not I have some confusion here, Maharaj. It is mentioned that they are all agreeable to the purpose of the creation, the infallible one. But again, Prabhupada continues that, of course, in the spiritual world, there is no such thing as creation. So they know the purpose of creation, but there is nothing like the word creation exists in the spiritual world. So what does that mean, and what is the purpose of the creation if we go on for the preaching purpose, and if we come across with the atheistic or the Mayavadi? So how can we explain this, Maharaj?
Well, we can explain. You see, Mayavadis, of course, they will have a hard time. But their explanation of creation, and they will say life came about from chemicals. You know, that's a Mayavadi interpretation. Or everything came from the Brahman. They say, either they will say it all comes from matter or it comes from the Brahman. They don't accept the existence of any personality of Godhead. Because they're impersonalists, so they don't accept that there's a supreme person. They don't, in other words, they don't believe in God. They say, well, we're all God, they will say. So, try to understand that what is the point again? What was it you were saying?
I want to know here it is mentioned the purpose of creation. But
the purpose of creation, you can say the purpose of creation is so that we can all go back to Godhead, that we can purify our existence. And we can, by being here in this material world, and by experiencing all the difficulties and frustration, we will realize that we're not supreme. And then we should realize that there is another person above us who is the supreme. And we should want to surrender to him and take shelter of him. So the purpose of creation is to help us to know the Creator. That there's a person behind the creation. If we talk about creation, then we should understand there's a creator. There's a creator behind the world. That creator, that is the Supreme Lord.
Okay. So Maharaj, infallible ones are those, the liberated one, or they are in the spiritual world. So even in the spiritual world, they think like that. The purpose is that one should serve Krishna, one should go back home, back to Godhead. So even in the spiritual world, because here Prabhupada is talking about the infallible ones who are in the spiritual world.
Yes. So the infallible ones, they're already liberated. They're in the spiritual world. They're already back to Godhead.
Yeah, so even in the back to even being in the back to Godhead, they can think like that. Is it possible? This is just what I'm asking.
Well, back to Godhead, they're simply thinking about Krishna and service to Krishna.
Okay.
They're not thinking, this material world, this is just a bad dream. Okay. They don't think about the material world, because they're with Krishna in the spiritual world. So they're thinking about service to Krishna, and they're thinking about their connection with Krishna, have some service to do for him. And there's different groups and different devotees, different forms of life. And they're all serving Krishna in different ways. Different flowers are blooming, they're there for Krishna's pleasure. And there's different living entities, birds in the trees, and so it's all for the pleasure of Krishna. Yeah?
Yes, I got it, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
And so they don't think about the material world, you know, the material world. This is just a bad dream here. Right? They think about getting out of this place. All right. Any other questions? So, two classes of people, the liberated and the conditioned. In the spiritual worlds, everyone's liberated. Then Krishna describes about the Supreme Lord. Besides these two, meaning the conditioned souls and the liberated souls, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them. And you can see how he's maintaining them. Lord Vishnu, by his breathing, they're all coming from him. And then the third verse also describes the transcendental position of the Lord. So he's celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as the Supreme Person. In the Vedas, Srila Vyasadeva has written that, right, how everything comes from the Supreme Lord. And we also see how everything is coming from the Lord. When we go to the temple, we see the Lord, and we see his deity form, and we can understand him as the Supreme Person. All right? So the beginning of the chapter described about the weakness of heart, and the rest of the chapter was about Purushottam Yoga. So we had an overview of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15. How did it begin? The beginning of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, began with
Banyan trees.
the banyan tree, and then after the banyan tree came
Transmigration.
transmigration, and after transmigration came
Krishna
Krishna maintainer.
yes, and then finally
Veda.
the Tri Sloki Gita, or essence of Vedanta, essence of the Vedas. So Purushottam Yoga means to connect to the Supreme Lord. And then we talked about these verses, Shastra Chaksus, seeing that verse, how it could relate to many different issues, and the other verses from the 15th chapter about how we can use them in preaching. And finally, here's the quote. Okay, who wants to read it for me?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, can I read it?
Yes.
As long as the living entity is in this dark material world, he is in conditional life, but as soon as he reaches the spiritual sky, by cutting through the false, perverted tree of this material world, he becomes liberated, then there is no chance of his coming back here. In his conditional life, the living entity considers himself to be the lord of this material world, but in his liberated state, he enters into the spiritual kingdom and becomes an associate of the spiritual lord. There he enjoys eternal bliss, eternal life, and full of knowledge. Thank you.
Yeah. Chapter 15, verse 6, purport. Alright? Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Alright, so we've finished that chapter. We'll go on to the next chapter. We'll try to go on to the next chapter. Chapter 16, what is the title? Division, Divine and Demoniac Nature, right? Very important chapter. Oh, Krishna. Oh, here we are, Bhagavad Gita. Alright, so the chapter 16 begins. Lord Krishna is describing different qualities. And he's saying, these transcendental qualities, they belong to good people, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature, transcendental qualities. Now, different people would be expected to have these different qualities. Not everyone's expected to be austere. Not everyone is expected to perform sacrifice or study of the Vedas. Not everyone is expected to give charity. Right? Different people have different duties according to their varna and ashram. There are different duties. Just like if you are brahmachari, then what should you do? Which one of these qualities would be for the brahmachari?
Renunciation?
No.
Reading Shastras?
Yes, that could be one. Study of the Vedas.
Cleanliness.
Self-control.
Well, that's something which they have to develop. They won't have that immediately. But they do have to study Shastra. Generally, that's the business of... And what about Grihastas? Which quality is there for Grihastas?
To perform their activities?
Huh?
To perform their karma?
Well, not really.
Cleanliness? Cleanliness?
I don't know what you're saying.
Cleanliness?
Oh, cleanliness. Oh, cleanliness. Well, it could be, yes, cleanliness could be one of the duties of grihastas. They should be clean, very clean. It's important in household life, family life, to be clean, to keep the house tidy. Generally, that's a duty of the wife. You know, if one's a householder, then the wife, her duty is to keep the house clean. Problem comes once she has a child. Maybe she has one, maybe 2, 3 children. And when the children come in the house, then it's very difficult to keep the house clean, because children tend to be a little dirty and leave things around, and they have toys and play with things. And, so having children in the home can be a real challenge to cleanliness. But one thing householders are meant to do, although it's difficult, but they're supposed to give charity. That's something which householders are supposed to do. They're supposed to be charitable. Doesn't mean necessarily that they have to give money. They may give shelter. They may give the holy name, like that. But charity is something which householders would be doing. What about vanaprasthas?
Non-violence. Non-violence?
No, not necessarily. Vanaprasthas are meant to practice austerity a little bit. Vanaprastha, retired, right? So they're retired, they're free from material goods, so they're meant to be preparing themselves for the next life. So they practice some austerity, and then this way they can be detached. They get detached from the material world. So that's helpful, to get detached and practice some austerity. some of the qualities are for sannyasis, some are for brahmacharis, and according to the varna and ashram. Gentleness. Gentleness is a quality for a brahmana. Brahmanas are, in Bhagavad Gita, in the 5th chapter, Krishna said, Vidya Vinaya Sampani, Brahmani Gavihastani. He's talking about a learned and gentle brahmana. So brahmanas should be learned and they should be gentle. Renunciation, that is for sannyasis. Cultivation of spiritual knowledge, that would be again for brahmacharis. Fearlessness, that is a quality meant for really sannyasis. Just like Prabhupada went to America, did not know anyone, and he did not have any money. See, that is real fearlessness. To go to a foreign country, not knowing people and not having any money, you have to be very brave to do that. Alright, so all of these different qualities, these are all transcendental qualities, and they belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. Alright, so someone can read for me here? Someone? Yes?
In the beginning of the 15th chapter, the banyan tree of this material world was explained. The extra roots coming out of it were compared to the activities of the living entities, some auspicious, some inauspicious. In the 9th chapter, also the devas or godly and the asuras, the ungodly or demons, were explained. Now, according to Vedic rites, activities in the modes of goodness are considered auspicious for progress on the path of liberation, and such activities are known as Devi Prakriti. Transcendental by nature, those who are situated in the transcendental nature make progress on the path of liberation. For those who are acting in the mode of passion and ignorance, on the other hand, there is no possibility of liberation. Either they will have to remain in this material world as human beings, or they will descend among the species of animal or even lower life forms. In the 16th chapter, the Lord explained both the transcendental nature and its attendant qualities and the demonic nature and its qualities. He also explains the advantages and disadvantages of these qualities. Age Maharaj, read. The word abhijapsya, in reference to one born of transcendental quality or godly tendencies, is very significant. To beget a child in a godly atmosphere is known in the Vedic scripture as Garbhadhana Samskara. If the parents want a child in the godly qualities, they should follow the 10 principles recommended for the social life of the human being. In Bhagavad Gita, we have stated also before that sex life for the begetting a good child is Krishna himself. Krishna life is not condemned, provided the process in use in Krishna consciousness. Those who are in Krishna consciousness at least should not beget children like cat and dogs, but should beget them so that they may become Krishna consciousness after birth. That should be the advantage of children born of a father and mother absorbed in Krishna consciousness. The social.
All right. Thank you. So those who are in Krishna consciousness, they have a duty, right? They have a duty. They have to behave like devotees, and they have to, if they're married, then in married life they should want to have children, bring up a family. And they should want these children will be in Krishna consciousness. So it's very important that that they beget the child according to religious principles. And the religious principle is to perform this Garbhadan Samskara. So this is how you attract a good soul into the womb. Because you naturally, mother and father, they want to have a child of good qualities. So to get a child of good qualities, they have to purify themselves. And they have to do this Garbhadan Samskara, which is chanting mantras, some mantras. And this way, then they can conceive the child, and they can attract a pure soul into the womb. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna described, well, he answered a question by Arjuna. Maybe you remember, Arjuna was worried. He said, what if I try to become a devotee and I'm not successful? What will happen? Do any of you remember this question? You remember how did Lord Krishna respond?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes?
Yes.
Go ahead. Tell me.
Krishna says if a devotee is worshipping for a short time, and then if he dies, then he will get birth in rich families, and then he can again, in his next life, he can begin his practice again. And if he's practicing for a long time and then he dies and he's unsuccessful, then he will get birth in a transcendentalist or in a devotee family, and then he can start worship again.
Okay, good. Yeah, right. If he practice for a long... So in other words, if somebody is born in a family of devotees, then we should understand that child, that he must have been a yogi in his previous life. He must have been already advanced in yoga, and that's why that child is taken birth in the family of a devotee couple. Yeah, when the couple have a child, that child, it's not an ordinary soul. It must have been engaged in some special activities in the previous life. There were in the previous life, the soul must have been already advanced in some yoga, but not perfect. And that's why they've taken birth in the family of devotees. And Srila Prabhupada describes, of course, Srila Prabhupada was born in a family of devotees. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was also born in a family of devotees. So birth is very helpful for someone to become a devotee. You know, if you're born in a family of devotees, then from the beginning of life, you're a vegetarian. And from the beginning of life, you're taught not to use your left hand to eat. You're taught to offer obeisances to the deities. You're taught to only eat prasadam. Many things you learn in the family. And Srila Prabhupada, of course, he said his whole life he never even drank tea because his father brought him up like that. His father wanted him to be a devotee. His father had him learn to play the mridanga when he was a child, because his father didn't want him to be a worldly person. He wanted him to be a devotee. So when the parents are devotees, then they can bring up the children to also be devotees. So to be born in the family of devotees is a great fortune, very special. And we should understand that these children are special souls. And that's why they're born in devotee families. And they become, from the beginning of life. they're vegetarian. They don't drink tea. They don't take coffee and these things. And they learn slokas from the Bhagavad Gita and so many nice things. So Prabhupada is saying, those who are in Krishna consciousness, they should not beget children like cats and dogs. But they should have children so that they may become Krishna conscious. Actually, Prabhupada says, in devotee couples, they should have a child who is an incarnation of God. That when they want a child, they should want a child who is an incarnation of God. Or if the child is not an incarnation of God, at least they should think that this child will not take birth again. This will be the child's last birth. So that's very nice. That the child is born in Krishna consciousness and brought up in Krishna. Sometimes, we get couples coming to Krishna consciousness, and it's very difficult for their children because they brought the children up not to be devotees. They brought their children up eating meat and taking non-vegetarian food, these things. So when the couple become devotees, then it's the children, they don't want to change because they've been eating meat. So that's a big problem. Try to change people. All right, somebody else can read now. The social institution.
Krishna?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please.
The social institution known as Varna Ashrama Dharma, the institution dividing society into 4 divisions of social life and 4 occupational divisions or caste, is not meant to divide human society according to birth. Such divisions are in terms of educational qualifications. They are to keep the society in a state of peace and prosperity. The qualities mentioned herein are explained as transcendental qualities meant for making a person progress in spiritual understanding so that he can get liberated from the material world. In the Varna Ashrama institution, the sannyasi or the person in the renounced order of life is considered to be the head or the spiritual master of all the social statutes and orders. A Brahmana is considered to be the spiritual master of the 3 other sections of a society, namely the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. But a sannyasi who is on the top of the institution is considered to be the spiritual master of the Brahmanas. Also, for a sannyasi, the first qualification should be fearlessness, because a sannyasi has to be alone without any support or guarantee of support. He has simply to depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one thinks after I leave my connection, who will protect me? He should not accept the renounced order of life. One must be fully convinced that Krishna or the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his localized aspect or Paramatma is always within, that he is seeing everything and he always knows what one intends to do. One must thus have firm conviction that Krishna as Paramatma will take care of a soul surrendered to him. I shall never be alone. One should think, even if I live in the darkest region of a forest, I shall be accompanied by Krishna and he will give me all protection. That conviction is called abhyam, fearlessness. This state of mind is necessary for a person in the renounced order of life. Then he has to purify his existence. There are so many rules and regulations to be followed in the renounced order of life. Most important of all, a sannyasi is strictly forbidden to have any intimate relation with a woman. He is even forbidden to talk with a woman in a secluded place. Lord Chaitanya was an ideal sannyasi, and when he was at Puri, his feminine devotees could not even come near to offer their respects. They were advised to bow down from a distant place. This is not a sign of hatred for women as a class, but it is a stricture imposed on the sannyasi not to have close connection with women. One has to follow the rules and regulation of a particular status of life in order to purify his existence. For a sannyasi, intimate relations with women and possession of wealth for sense gratification are strictly forbidden. The ideal sannyasi was Lord Chaitanya himself, and we can learn from his life that he was very strict in regards to women. Although he is considered to be the most liberal incarnation of Godhead, accepting the most fallen conditioned souls, he strictly followed the rules and regulations of the sannyasa order of life in connection with association with women. One of his personal associates, namely Chota Haridasa, was associated with Lord Chaitanya along with his other confidential personal associates, but somehow or other this Chota Haridasa looked lustily on a young woman, and Lord Chaitanya was so strict that he at once rejected him from the society of his personal associate. Lord Chaitanya said, for a sannyasi or anyone who is aspiring to get out of the clutches of material nature and trying to elevate himself to the spiritual nature and go back home, back to Godhead, for him looking toward material possession and women for sense gratification, not even enjoying them but just looking toward them with such a propensity is so condemning that he had better commit suicide before experiencing such illicit desires. So these are the processes for purification. The next
All right, thank you. So we understand, you see Prabhupada's talking about qualifications for sannyasi, fearlessness and renunciation. So those are not meant for everyone. Women are not expected to be like that, but sannyasis are expected to be like that. All right. So someone else can read.
Yeah, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. The next item is Jnana Yoga Vyasati, being engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. Sannyasi life is meant for distributing knowledge to the householders and others who have forgotten their real life as a real life of spiritual advancement. A sannyasi is supposed to beg from door to door for his livelihood, but this does not mean that he is a beggar. Humility is also one of the qualifications of a transcendentally situated person. And out of sheer humility, the sannyasi goes from door to door, not exactly for the purpose of begging, but to see the householders and awaken them to Krishna consciousness. This is the duty of a sannyasi. If he is actually advanced and so ordered by his spiritual master, he should preach Krishna consciousness with logic and understanding. And if one is not so advanced, he should not accept the renounced order of life. But even if one has accepted the renounced order of life without sufficient knowledge, he should engage himself fully in hearing from a bona fide spiritual master to cultivate knowledge. A sannyasi or one in the renounced order of life must be situated in fearlessness, sattva, samshuddhi, purity, and jnana yoga, knowledge. The next item is charity. Charity is meant for the householders. The householders should earn a livelihood by an honorable means and spend 50% of their income to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. Thus, a householder should give in charity to institutional societies that are engaged in that way. Charity should be given to the right receiver. There are different kinds of charity, as will be explained later on. Charity in the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Charity in the mode of goodness is recommended by the scriptures, but charity in the mode of passion and ignorance is not recommended because it is simply a waste of money. Charity should be given only to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. That is charity in the mode of goodness. Then as far as Dhamma, self-control is concerned, it is not only meant for other orders of religious society, but is especially meant for the householder. Although he has a wife, a householder should not use his senses for sex life unnecessarily. There are restrictions for the householders even in sex life which should only be engaged in for the propagation of children. If he does not require children, he should not enjoy sex life with his wife. Modern society enjoys sex life with contraceptive methods or more abominable methods to avoid the responsibility of children. This is not in the transcendental quality, but is demoniac. If anyone, even if he is a householder, wants to make progress in his spiritual life, he must control his sex life and should not beget a child without the purpose of serving Krishna. If he is able to beget children who will be in Krishna consciousness, one can produce hundreds of children, but without this capacity, one should not indulge only for sense pleasure. Sacrifice.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good, thank you. Someone else? So we are seeing charity for the householders. Yes, go ahead.
Sacrifice is another item to be performed by the householders because sacrifices require a large amount of money. Those in other orders of life, namely Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa, have no money. They live by begging. So performance of different types of sacrifice is meant for the householders. They should perform Agnihotra, sacrifices as enjoined in the Vedic literature, but such sacrifices at the present moment are very expensive, and it is not possible for any householder to perform them. The best sacrifice recommended in this age is called Sankirtana Yagya. This Sankirtana Yagya, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, is the best and most inexpensive sacrifice. Everyone can adopt it and derive benefit. So these three items, namely charity, sense control, and performance of sacrifice, are meant for householders. Then Swadhyaya, Vedic study, is meant for Brahmacharya or student life. Brahmacharis should have no connection with women. They should live a life of celibacy and engage the mind in the study of Vedic literature for cultivation of spiritual knowledge. This is called Swadhyaya. Tapas or austerity is especially meant for the retired life. One should not remain a householder throughout his whole life. He must always remember that there are 4 divisions of life: Brahmacharya, Grastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. So after Grastha householder life, one should retire. If one lives for 100 years, he should spend 25 years in student life, 25 years in householder life, 25 in retired life, and 25 in the renounced order of life. These are the regulations of Vedic religious discipline. A man retired from household life must practice austerities of the body, mind, and tongue. That is tapasya. The entire Varna Ashrama Dharma society is meant for tapasya. Without tapasya or austerity, no human being can get liberation. The theory that there is no need of austerity in life, that one can go on speculating and everything will be nice, is recommended neither in the Vedic literature nor in Bhagavad Gita. Such theories are manufactured by show-bottle spiritualists who are trying to gather more followers. If there are restrictions, rules, and regulations, people will not become attracted. Therefore, those who want followers in the name of religion just to have a show only don't restrict the lives of their students nor their own life. But that method is not approved by the Vedas. As far as the Brahmanical quality of simplicity is concerned, not only should a particular order of life follow this principle, but every member, be he in the Brahmachari ashrama, Grastha ashrama, Vanaprastha ashrama, or Sannyas ashrama, one should be very simple and straightforward. Ahimsa
Very good reading. Thank you very much. Yes, someone else read Ahimsa? Who is not read yet?
May I, Maharaj?
Yes.
Ahimsa means not arresting the progressive life of any living entity. One should not think that since the spirit spark is never killed, even after killing the body, there is no harm in killing animals for sense gratification. People are now addicted to eating animals. In spite of having an ample supply of grains, fruits, and milk, there is no necessity for animal killing. This injunction is for everyone. When there is no alternative, one may kill an animal, but it should not be offered in sacrifice. At any rate, when there is an pair of food supply for humanity, people, a person who are desiring to make advancement in spiritual realization should not commit violence to animals. Real ahimsa means not checking anyone's progressive life. The animal are also making progress in their evolutionary life by transmigrating from one category of animal life to another. If a particular animal is killed, then his progress is checked. If an animal is staying in a particular body for so many days or so many years and is ultimately killed, then he has to come back again in that form of a life to complete the remaining days in order to be promoted to another species of life. So their progress should not be checked simply to satisfy one's palate. This is called ahimsa.
Yes, right, this is important. The killing animals, you see, when the animal is killed untimely, means unnaturally, the animal was killed, then they have to come back again in that form to complete their time. Just like when they kill animal, when they kill especially the cow, it's so sinful. If they kill the cows when they're young, then the cow has to come back again to complete their time in that body before they can go to the higher form of life. So ahimsa, non-violence, very important. We of course, that duty of who should practice ahimsa? Who do you think should practice ahimsa? Well, Prabhupada said here, real ahimsa means not checking anyone's progressive life. So not only the animals, but also people. So real ahimsa is not checking their progressive life. We have to be kind to people. So it's the Brahminical quality of simplicity, and then ahimsa. Prabhupada doesn't really say who should be practicing ahimsa. Can anyone suggest who should practice ahimsa?
Everyone, like all the brahmacharis, the grihastha, the vanaprastha and sannyasis.
Yes, I think so. Yes. And he said, of course, that was said also for the people who should be simple and straightforward. That is for everyone. Prabhupada said that's for everyone, to be simple and straightforward. I think non-violence also is for everyone. Of course, sometimes the Kshatriya may have to be violent. Some Kshatriyas may have to be violent, they may train. They go sometimes hunting wild animals because they have to be able to use violence. Sometimes they have to fight to defend their kingdom. Sometimes they have to fight to defend the palace. Different things which they have in the palace. So ahimsa is an important quality. All right, Satyam, go ahead.
May I read?
Yes.
Satyam, this word means that one should not distort the truth for some personal interest. In Vedic literature, there are some difficult passages, but the meaning or the purpose should be learned from a bona fide spiritual master. That is the process for understanding the Vedas. Shruti means that one should hear from the authority. One should not construe some interpretation for his personal interest. There are so many commentaries on Bhagavad Gita that misinterpret the original text. The real import of the word should be presented, and that should be learned from a bona fide spiritual masters.
So who should practice? Who should practice Satyam then?
Everyone.
Everyone. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Go ahead, keep reading.
Shraddha means to check guard. Even if there is provocation, one should be tolerant, for once one becomes angry, his whole body becomes polluted. Anger is the product of the mode of passion and lust. So one who is transcendently situated should not find fault with others or correct them unnecessarily. Of course, to call a thief is not fault finding, but to call an honest person a thief is very much offensive for one who is making advancement in spiritual life. Ari means that one should be very modest and must not perform some act which is abominable. Vyapalam determination means that one should not be agitated or frustrated in some attempt. There may be failure in some attempt, but one should not be sorry for that. He should make progress with patience and determination. The word tejas used here is meant for Kshatriyas. The Kshatriyas should always be very strong to be able to give protection to the weak. They should not pose themselves as non-violent. If violence is required, they must exhibit it. But a person who is able to curb down his enemy may under certain conditions show forgiveness. He may excuse minor offenses. Shaucham means cleanliness, not only in mind and body but in one's dealing also. It is especially meant for mercantile people who should not deal in the black market. Nati manita. Nati manita. Not expecting honor applies to Shudras, the worker class, which are considered according to Vedic injunctions to be the lowest of the four classes. They should not be puffed up with unnecessary prestige or honor and should remain in their own status. It is the duty of Shudras to offer respect to the higher class of the upkeep of the social order.
Very good. All right. Thank you. Thank you. So we're hearing about these different people, well, the different qualities, and Prabhupada's explaining some of them, how some of them apply, just like here. It's mentioned about Sudras, the working class, and they should not expect honor. And Socham, cleanliness, meant for the mercantile people. They should not deal in the black market. So cleanliness is not only in the body and mind, but also in one's dealings. So dealings must be pure. We shouldn't deal in the black market. That's the idea. And the Sudras said they should be humble and give respect. They shouldn't be puffed up or proud. So the duty of the Sudra to offer respect. So there were 26 qualifications mentioned, and said all these 26 qualifications are transcendental qualities. They should be cultivated according to the different statuses, social and occupational order. Right? Some are for Vaishyas, some are for Sudras, some are for Kshatriyas, some are for Brahmins. The purport is that even though material conditions are miserable, if these qualities are developed by practice by all classes of men, then gradually it is possible to rise to the highest platform of transcendental realization. Right? So these are all good qualities. These are all transcendental qualities. These are qualities of people, we hope be devotees. Right? That's the idea, that godly qualities that was mentioned at the beginning of the verse, that these qualities are godly qualities. Oh, we read a lot, huh? These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharat, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. So 26 qualities, right? Some for the Brahman, some for the Sudra, some for the Brahmachari, some for the Vanaprastha, some for the Sannyasi. Have you got them? Do you remember them? Which ones were for sannyasi?
Carelessness.
Yes.
Charity.
Huh?
Vision of knowledge.
Yeah, you should have. Huh?
Renunciation.
Renunciation, yes. What's for the brahmachari?
So, Vedic study.
Cultivation of spiritual.
Yes, cultivation of spiritual knowledge.
Study of Vedas.
Study of the Vedas. Yes, study of the Vedas, right? Okay. What is for the grihastha?
Charity and sacrifice.
Charity and cleanliness, sacrifice.
Yes. And charity, cleanliness, control of the senses, right?
Austerity.
Austerity.
Non-violence, control of anger, it is for all.
Yes, non-violence, anger, freedom from aversion to fault finding. That's all, for all. Compassion for all living entities. These different things. So these are all belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. Right? We're hearing about Devi Sampat and Asuric Sampat. So Devi, divine nature, the good qualities of people in the qualities of people who are devotees, who are good people. Now, the next text, text 4, we're going to hear about those of demoniac nature. Right? And actually most of the chapter is describing about people with demoniac nature. Alright, so the qualities are mentioned. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 qualities belong to the Dambo darpo bimanascha Kroda parushyam evacha Angyanam cha bijatasya partha sampadam asurim. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demoniac nature, O son of Pritha. So Prabhupada said, the royal road to hell is described. Right? Who's going to read for us? Read the purport.
Can I read, Maharaj?
Yes.
In this verse, the royal road to hell is described. The want to make a show of religion and advancement in spiritual science. Although they do not follow the principles, they are always arrogant or proud in possessing some type of education or such much wealth. They desire to be worshipped by others and demand respectability. Although they do not command respect our trifles, not gently, they do not know what should be done and what should not be done. They do everything whimsically according to their own desire, and they do not recognize any authority. These dominic qualities are taken on by them from the beginning of their bodies and the womb of their mothers, and as they grow.
Okay, and as they grow, they manifest
all these inauspicious qualities.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. So, demoniac qualities. Right, Prabhupada said, from the beginning of, from their birth, they take on these qualities in the mother's womb. Why? Maybe the mother's not devotee, mother's a demon. You know, they found out mothers who are watching television before they give birth, and then when the children are born, they have very bad quality, very poor qualities. They're very dull, very slow to learn, because the mother is just sitting watching television all the time. So it's very bad for the baby. So demoniac qualities taken on from the beginning, from previous life. They have this demoniac nature. And so their qualities are being described. Always proud, arrogant. Maybe they have money, they think I am rich, or they're educated, they think I am educated, and they look down on other people. They demand respect. And they get angry over very little, something very small, insignificant thing, and they don't speak very sweetly. They speak very harshly, not gently. Just like when Bhima and Krishna and Arjuna, they went to see Jarasandha. Right? Bhima and Krishna and Arjuna, and they dressed themselves up like brahmanas. So they went to see Jarasandha because they wanted to get charity from him. Right? You know who Jarasandha was? You remember Jarasandha?
Yes, Prabhuji, he's the brother-in-law of Kans. He's the brother of Kans' wife.
He's the father of Kamsa's wives.
Yeah.
His daughters were married to Kamsa. Jarasandha's daughters were married to Kamsa. So when Krishna killed Kamsa, his daughters all came home and they said, we're widows, our husband is being killed by Krishna. So Jarasandha said, then I'm going to kill Krishna. So Jarasandha was going to kill Krishna. But of course, it wasn't. So what happened was, Krishna came with Bhima and Arjuna to see Jarasandha because Maharaj Yudhisthira wanted to do the Rajasuya Yajna. But before he can do the yagya, he has to have control over all the kings in the world. Everybody has to surrender to him. So he knew Jarasandha would never surrender. So they had to go. Krishna said, we have to go there and we have to try to get a fight with him. So Krishna and Bhima and Arjuna dressed up as brahmanas. They came dressed as brahmanas because they want to get charity. And they came to beg charity from Jarasandha. And Jarasandha, although he was a demon, he liked to give charity to the brahmanas because he knew it's good for him. He knows whatever he gives in charity will come back more. So they came dressed up. But when they came to see Jarasandha, he thought, well, these are funny looking brahmanas. They don't look like brahmanas. And they also thought their voices are also not like brahmanas, because their voices were like thunder. You know, some people, one of the qualities of the Kshatriya is Ishvara Bhav. They have the nature to control others. So when Bhima and Arjuna, when they would speak, that Ishvara Bhav would come out, you know. So Jarasandha said, well, who are these people? They're brahmanas? They don't look like brahmanas. They don't sound like brahmanas. They spoke then. Anyway, they told the Jarasandha, said, what do you want? And they said, we want to fight. We want to fight you. So then Jarasandha saw them and he said, oh no, I'm not going to fight Krishna. Krishna ran away last time I was going to fight him. He's a coward, I'm not going to fight him. And he said, Arjuna, he's not strong enough. He said, I'll fight Bhima, he's strong. He'll give me a good fight. I'll fight with Bhima. So the two of them fought. And you know, of course Krishna helped. Krishna showed Bhima how to defeat Jarasandha. That way Jarasandha got killed by Bhima. Anyway, the point is, Kshatriyas, they speak powerfully. But here, the demonic people, they speak angrily, and they speak harshly, not gently. Right? The mode of goodness, we should say things which are pleasing to others. We want to say things which are pleasing to people. Don't want to just disturb people. So we have to understand there's these two natures. There's the Devi Sampat and Asuric Sampat. Now, somebody said to me, oh, there should be something in between. They say, I may not be godly, but I'm not a demon. There should be something in between. But actually, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna doesn't say anything in between. He said there's only two natures. There's the Devi Sampat and Asuric Sampat. You're either one or the other. There's nothing between them. Right? So, we do want to try to cultivate the good qualities, the Devi Sampat. So we often find, you know, people can be demoniac, but they can become devotees. They can be changed. We have to make people aware. So training people to speak nicely and to behave properly according to the proper etiquette. Very important. And also, we want to make sure, you know, people having children, that we want to bring nice devotees into the world. You don't want to bring the demons into the world. You want to bring devotees. Just like Kamsa, he was born, his mother was raped. She was raped by some demon, and the result was she gave birth to Kamsa. That's how Kamsa was born, in the same family as Lord Krishna. So birth is very important, and the women have to be taken care of, they have to be protected, their chastity, everything. So these 6 qualities, they belong to demoniac nature. Pride, arrogance, very similar. Then conceit, they're all quite similar. Anger, harshness, ignorance. Right? So, Lord Krishna speaking to Arjuna. So in text 5 he said, the transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation. That means that the first 26 qualities, they are helpful for liberation. The demoniac qualities make for bondage. And then Krishna says to Arjuna, don't worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with the divine qualities. So Lord Krishna wants to encourage Arjuna that he's not a demon. He's born with good qualities, and his involvement in the fight was not demoniac. Arjuna was worried. He was thinking maybe it's demoniac. But no, Krishna is saying, no, you're born with divine qualities. Arjuna was thinking, should Bhishma and Drona be killed? You could see Arjuna thought carefully before he went and got involved in the battle. He was not impulsive. He was not acting under the modes of nature. He was controlled. So people often influenced by anger, false prestige, and harshness. So Arjuna was not like that. He was not a demon. A Kshatriya, a military man, shooting arrows at the enemy is considered transcendental, and refraining from such a duty is demoniac. Therefore, there was no cause for Arjuna to lament. Anyone who performs regulated principles of the different orders of life is transcendentally situated. Right? The regulated principles of the different orders. Just like, it's different. Kshatriya's duty is different from a Brahmana. Brahmana's duty is to worship the deity and to study the scriptures. The Kshatriya's duty is to give protection to people, to protect people from the demons and from irreligion. And the Vaishya's duty is to protect the cows and to produce food, produce grains. And the Sudra's duty is to be servant, to serve everyone. So you can hear, here you see Lord Krishna saying, there are 2 kinds of created beings. One is divine and the other is demoniac. I've told you about the divine qualities. Now hear about the demoniac qualities. So 2 classes. Those who are born with divine qualities follow regulated life. They abide by the injunctions in scriptures and by authorities. One should perform duties in the light of authoritative scripture. This mentality is called divine. One who does not follow regulated principles as laid down in the scripture and who acts according to his whims, then this is demoniac or asuric. There is no other criterion but obedience to the regulated principles of scripture. It is mentioned in Vedic literature that both the demigods and the demons are born of the Prajapati. The only difference is one class obeys the Vedic injunctions and the other does not. Right? So of course the demigods, they obey, but the demons do not. So that's the standard, how to know who is a demon and who is a godly person. Godly people will follow the scriptures and they worship Vishnu, but the demons, they will worship others. Then text number 7 is a nice verse, very popular, also often quoted. Pavritim cha nivritim cha janana vidura suraha na socham na pichacharo na satyam teshu vidyate. Pavriti and nivriti. Pavriti, the things we should do, and nivriti, the things we shouldn't do. So, the demon, he doesn't know what to do and what not to do. The one who is the asura, he doesn't know what to do, what not to do. And they don't know about cleanliness or proper behavior or truth. They have no idea. This is the demon. In civilized human society, there is some set of scriptural rules and regulation followed from the beginning. Among the Aryans, they have this, the Vedic civilization. So the demons, they do not know the scriptural rules, nor do they have any inclination to follow them. Even if some of them know, they have not the tendency to follow. They have no faith, nor are they willing to act in terms of the Vedic teaching. Demons are not clean, either externally or internally. One should always be careful to keep his body clean by bathing, brushing teeth, shaving, changing clothes, etc. As far as internal cleanliness, one should always remember to chant the holy names of God, chant the Mahamantra. The demons neither like nor follow all these rules for external and internal cleanliness. And then as for behavior, there are many rules and regulations. Human behavior, the law of the human race. Even up to today, those who are Hindu follow Manu Samhita. The laws of inheritance and other legalities are derived from this book. Now in the Manu Samhita, it is clearly stated that a woman should not be given freedom. So this is an interesting point you should consider. Women should not be given freedom. This Prabhupada is quoting from the Manu Samhita. Right? So, what do you think about that? Prabhupada said, that does not mean that women are to be kept as slaves, but they are like children. Children are not given freedom, but that does not mean that they are kept as slaves. The demons have now neglected such injunctions, and they think that women should be given as much freedom as men. However, this has not improved the social condition of the world. Actually, a woman should be given protection at every stage of life. She should be given protection by her father in her younger days, by the husband in her youth, and by grown-up sons in her old age. This is proper social behavior according to Manu Samhita. But modern education has artificially devised a puffed-up concept of womanly life, and therefore marriage is practically now an imagination in human society. The social condition of women is thus not very good. Now, although those who are married are in a better condition than those who are proclaiming their so-called freedom. The demons, therefore, do not accept any instruction which is good for society. And because they do not follow the experience of great sages and the rules and regulations laid down by the sages, the social condition of the demoniac people is very miserable. All right, so ladies, what do you think about this? That Manu Samhita said women should not be given freedom. In Srila Prabhupada's time, Prabhupada was in the USA, and there was a movement called Women's Liberation. And it was quite prominent, and not only in USA, also in Europe, when Prabhupada came to Europe also, but particularly in USA, because Prabhupada was speaking about it a little bit, and he mentioned about how women have a different size of brain from the men. And some women didn't like it. And anyway, there were some challenges from women. They didn't like Prabhupada's statements about women, about how women should be protected. Do we have any response from our ladies here today?
Maharaj, I want to add, here Prabhupada has mentioned that women should not be given the freedom. So I think I have, about this thing I have read in the Perfect Question and Answer book by Srila Prabhupada, or not Perfect Question and Answer. It was Civilization, I guess, the book. Yeah, so Civilization and Transcendence. So I believe that the point is correct, because the women, they are mentally not so much strong, they are emotional, they are very much emotional, and they can come under the words of other people's, and also physically they are not so much strong, so that's why they always requires a protection.
Do they get it? That is the question.
As per my own experience, Maharaj, I don't think so that they get it.
Yeah, and Prabhupada even, he talks about marriage. He said marriage is practically now an imagination in human society.
Yes, it's like, it seems like there is in human society now, it seems like there's an animal marriage. There is no human marriage exist at all. If I see from my perspective, if I see through my own experiences. So yes, that's true that now in the society, women are not that much protected, and the marriage is also kind of imagination one.
Yeah. So it's what can we say about it? The women have to be given. Of course, they have done some things in India about women's protection, trying to protect anybody who does anything which is questionable against a woman. They can immediately be arrested and put into jail. So they are trying to do something here in India. I know in the Middle East also, for a long time, women were not allowed to drive a car. But recently they've changed the law there, and now that women are allowed to drive cars. But that doesn't mean that it gives them better protection. I don't know if it's actually good for them to be driving cars. But in Islamic law, it's like that, that women were not given so much those opportunities. But they're changing some of them now. Anyway, the demonic civilization is like that, and often women are taken advantage of. Srila Prabhupada explained, he said, how can you say men and women are equal? Actually in China they have a propaganda also. They say man and women they're both equal. And the idea is that the woman will also go to work. The man will work and the women will also work. But Prabhupada said, yeah, they're both working, but it's the woman who gets pregnant. When the man and women, when there's a marriage, they're together, it's the woman who's going to give birth to the child. So, she's going to have the child. And the man's not going to give birth to a child. It's the woman who has to carry the child. And if she has a job, it's difficult for her. And it's difficult for the child also to grow up if the mother's always away to work. Put the child in the kindergarten or in the nursery somewhere. They don't get the mother's love, and they don't get often difficult for them. We have difficulty for devotees to find vegetarian schools and vegetarian kindergartens where the children can still be vegetarian. And these are all problems. Very big concern for people actually. Women should be given proper protection. They should be taken care of. The men, it's a responsibility for a man to take care of a woman and children. Of course, women like to go out to work. Sometimes they think, oh, it's too boring to be at home with children all day. And they prefer to go out, like to go out to be at work. But it's not really actually socially good. Because women go out to work, it means they will mix with other men. And mix with other men, it will not be good for the marriage. You see, women need to be kept away from other men. And this is one of the problems. That's why there's so much divorce. Because women are going out to work. And when they go out to work, they mix with other men. And then it's difficult for them to get along with their husband. All right. Any other comments or questions on this? No? Okay. Yes?
I have a question, but not from this section, from text 1 to 4.
Okay.
Maharaj, as we read in the purport that Prabhupada mentioned that one should be very simple and straightforward. And in text 4, we read that we should not speak those things which are unpleasant to others. So I'm a little bit how can we be straightforward and at the same time we say the pleasing words to the people?
Yes, there's a Sanskrit proverb about that. It says Satyam Bruyat Priyam Bruyat. That you should speak the truth, but at the same time make it pleasing. That's the challenge. You have to be a little careful about how you speak, you know. We want to speak the truth. And Prabhupada also said, of course, he said, and when it comes to preaching, we're not meant to follow that kind of dealing. When it comes to preaching, you may have to say things which are not very pleasing to people. Just like when Vidura came and he was preaching to Dhritarashtra. So Vidura's words were not very pleasing to Dhritarashtra, but he had to say it in order to cut through the attachment to the material world. So sometimes you have to say things which are not very pleasing when you're preaching. But in ordinary social dealings with people, you want to be careful. You want to speak nicely and try to say things which are pleasing.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. All right, so we'll finish here tonight, and we'll see you next week. Give me some time to prepare. All right, so you can look over this chapter. Very important chapter. A lot of information about the demons. All right. So Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Holiness Bhakti Vigna Vinashik Maharaj ki jai. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.